Thanks, Dave. And certainly over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of changes with real estate here in the Lower Mainland and right across BC. And that pertains to, the real estate regulations, but also to regulatory environment, taxation. There's lots of complexities with the market these days. What are some of the most common questions that you get clients coming to you that are seeking advice? What are some of those questions that you can share with us here today?
Well, certainly one of them is, what's my homework now pay? Depending on what neighborhood you're in. There's, as you pointed out, the policies and regulations from really all the levels of government trying to fix that, have impacted home values and on all segments of the market. So I do get that question a lot. What's my homework now?
Excellent. And we know affordability is certainly something that is a major concern here in the Lower Mainland. And we've got choices, condo, we've got detached, we've got a number of other choices too, and there's pluses and minuses to both. How do you help guide people in terms of selecting what is right for them? And what are some of those pluses and minuses?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would be directing a potential client to go and talk to someone like me.
Excellent.
Make sure that they're pre-approved and they have an understanding of what they can afford to buy. As you pointed out, you don't want to overextend yourself. And also when you're out pounding the pavement and having the fun of looking at homes, you want to make sure that you're looking at properties that you can actually afford. And what type of home you're going to go into will be part of that affordability factor, no question. And then what kind of lifestyle do you want? If you want to be closer to downtown, you will sacrifice on space. If you want to have maybe a single detached home or a larger type of property, you're going to look at other neighborhoods potentially that aren't as close to Vancouver.
So lots of choices out there.
Yep, there's lots of choices. There certainly is lots of choices, and really, I would say that your lifestyle is going to guide you a lot in the direction that you're going to go in respect of neighborhood and the type of home that you purchase.
And would you say 2019 is a good time to jump into the market?
This is what I'm going to say about the market, is you can never accurately gauge when the bottom is and when the top is. And we've certainly seen that in the last couple of years, last year for sure. So we've had some downturn in the market. So as a buyer, it's a great time to be into the market and to purchase. And if you see something that you like that works for your family, then I would say you should go for it. Make sure that the mortgage instrument that you have, that you're working with, works for that property. And I would say too that if you're, I would try and find something that will work for you for the longer term. So if once you have established, excuse me, what your value range is and what you can afford, then I would help you to find something that's going to work for you for as long as possible before you make your next move. Most people actually do move around the 5-year mark, 3 to 5 years. So you want to extend that as much as possible. And the other thing that I would be suggesting is that as much as possible, I have a friend who's done this and I envy her because I'm not as good at this, but pay down your mortgage. If you can, pay down your mortgage as quickly as possible.
Thanks. So Faith, back over to you. And we know this year there are more properties on the market, and sometimes it's taking a little bit longer for sellers to sell their homes. How can they make their homes more marketable? What's your advice?
Well, first of all, just in taking a bit longer to sell their home, sellers need to really listen to their professional advisor and seriously, do the due diligence. Make sure your realtor is doing the due diligence so they can give you good information so that you can make an informed decision. And part of that is what is the value of your property, and then what is the strategic pricing that's going to go along with that. if you are out of the ballpark, it is going to take you way longer. And even though I think in the detached housing segment, certainly on the west side, we're pretty much bouncing around the bottom now. If you're not getting good advice, you can lose money in a market. And I just want to touch on one thing in regards to the permits that
Yes.
Larry, you were talking about. Is that okay?
Yes.
I know you're asking me a question, but it's super important if you are doing a renovation, even what you consider a small renovation, to make sure that you are getting the proper permits. And I just recently had a situation where I was listing an amazing condominium and went in and they had renovated it, and it was so I wanted to buy it. And then I was asking the owner what work they'd done, and they had done most of the work, and did they get permits? And she said, well, a couple of things. If you're in a condominium, usually you'll need to get permission from your strata. And then the other thing is, what permits do you need? And for this particular one, they'd moved the wall. And, I've been in the business a long time, so I was like, that just spidey senses went up, and they'd moved a pony wall in the kitchen. And sure enough, they didn't get a permit. And that would require a permit, which then again, you need an engineer to come in and make sure you had the proper, it was done properly. You're in a building, and that, be holding up somebody else's suite. So we got an engineer and made sure it was all okay, and then sort of had to backtrack the permit part from the strata, and then make sure it was correct. But those kind of things can get you into hot water really fast. And one of the things your realtor does for you is to make sure I always call it your whole. So when you sell your home and you're so thrilled and happy, and there's a nice big bow on the package you're handing over, you're finished and you're going on to have fun buying something else. So those permits and those kind of things, that is so super important. What we do is when I list a home, which is how we also knew that there was something amiss here, was we go down to the city, whatever city it's in, whatever district, and we have a checklist of things we'll ask for. And one of them will be permits, oil tanks, things like that. So we know that we've done our background due diligence for our client, and then if there's something our client needs to know, we'll go back and talk to them. What was the other part of that question you were asking me, because it was different? But I just, that's so important.
Yeah, excellent. It was about making your homes as marketable as possible.
So there's
even the curtain marking conditions.
Yeah. So again, a good realtor will they're your advisor as well, and they will walk through your property with an eye to how to create the best showability for the broadest audience. And that, again, is super important. And so we do have a staging component to our firm. And I definitely bring somebody else with me, because I may have already get subjectively involved with my client. And, I like that plant there, but really that plant needs to be moved out of that room, because it's blocking a window, for example. And you need people automatically, when they come into a place, they're going to walk to that window and see what's out there. So we do a walkthrough, we make suggestions, and they can be as simple as staging suggestions. In other words, this bed should be moved this way, and the side table should be here, or you need side tables. Small adjustments to larger maintenance adjustments, and as simple as the bathroom needs to be recaulked, or this needs to be tidied up here and there. To here's a checklist of maintenance things that should be done. I'm hoping they're the cheap and cheerful. That's what we go for first. That is going to augment the saleability of your home. And the other thing when you're looking at that is you want to take away roadblocks. So you've listed the home, you've made it, you think you've hit every target. You don't want the buyer to come in and there's roadblocks that you have to figure out. Like a permit would be one. Okay, now we got to go back and figure this out. You want it to be nice and easy and clean for the buyer to come in, and if they're with an agent, to help that agent sell your home to them. And you want to make sure it's a smooth and simple process. So how to make your home more saleable is to definitely do the walkthrough, ensure that there's the broadest audience that's going to appeal to your home. Staging is super important. It doesn't mean you have to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to stage your home. A lot of times we work with what the owner's got, and we may augment a little bit. And then that checklist of things that are just that, you know, you're not going to pick up on inspection because you already handled it.
And typically, how much time do you allow for this before you would put a property up for sale?
Well, I'm always saying to act, not react. So when we come in, we set an itinerary. Just as you're saying there's a process to this. And an experienced person is going to walk you through that process. So, I mean, you know, you want to say timing is everything, but if you put a home on the market that's not ready, you're going to lose that first very important maybe few weeks. And the last thing you want, and we see this occasionally, you do not, with the internet now, like 90% of your people are going to come and look at your property online first. And that's even a slightly different perspective than when they come through the home. So you do not want to put a home up without photos. I mean, we've done great things for our buyers where there's been a home, and I can think of an example when we saw this property and there was no photos let yet, and so buyers may be flipping past it because they can't really see anything. We earmarked that, we got in right away. My client got the property and there was a list of buyers wanting to put backups in. So having no photos when you go up is just a no-no. And you know, if you look, you've all probably gone online and you're looking at properties, you don't want a lot of, excuse me, but toilet shots. You don't want unmade beds. Everything, you want everything to be as beautifully, aesthetically pleasing as possible, and you want people to understand immediately when they're looking at a photo or a video what the purpose of that room is. And for the walk, when you're taking a buyer through a property, that's super important. If you've got a cluttered room that they can't really get into, or they're just peek in and go, yeah, okay, that space is lost to them, and you've lost valuable square footage on the potentially purchase price of your home.
Excellent advice. So being prepared, and even if it means waiting, taking a few extra days or weeks,
or a week,
will pay off, right?
You want photos, videos, you want a great floor plan. You want to create a beautiful buying experience for as many people to appreciate as possible. Yeah, and so taking the time to make sure your property is ready is super important. So as I said at the beginning, act, don't react.
Thanks, Dave. And Larry, I'm going to come back to you. So we've talked about the renovation experience. We've talked about the due diligence that people should.
Successful experience.
Excellent. Well, I think we've got some time now to open it up to the audience. If you have any questions for our panelists, either Faith, Larry, or our mortgage specialist, Kenny, we'd be happy to address your questions. Is there any questions?
Thank you. This question is more for Faith, I believe. The checklist that you're mentioning, is that on a website that we can access? And if so, could you give me the website address?
It should be under our sellers. We have a buyers and sellers section on our website. Up there, and actually, I'll give you my card after, and if you want to give me your name, I'll just double check that so I can get you that information, because we do have it. Yeah. Thanks. That checklist actually is a really good place to start. And as I said, with that walkthrough, we have an itinerary. Just as you're talking about, is that me? There we go. Having a process that you're walking through to make sure that you're checking off all the things that you need to get done prior to putting your home on the market, so that when your home goes to market, it's this big, beautiful experience for everybody that's looking online. That's what you want, because that will translate to what I call to the shoes on your doormat outside your door. And the experience then that you're bringing people through will be really profound, and that's what you want, to engage as many people as possible in purchasing of your home.
Do we have any other questions out there?
Okay, Faith, this is for you. Just with the market being the way it is and Vancouver being expensive, how can you give it, or what advice would you have for younger folks trying to get into the market, or perhaps some parents helping their kids get into the market?
Okay, so there's sort of two questions in a way. I'm a firm believer in having real estate as part of your portfolio, if you will, and it covers off a lot because it's the roof over your head. It's a way to build equity, and over the long term, I don't think there's a better investment vehicle if you actually look at it that way as well. So for younger people, what I've said to my nieces and nephews, and I've certainly helped them get into the market, is to, don't overinflate, first of all, especially parents. Parents may say, and I've come across this a lot, even within my family, I want my son or daughter, I want them to have this. And, not everyone's going to have a house, for their first property. And nor does everybody want that same thing. So if you're on your own and you do get some help from mom and dad, that's awesome. Get something that will actually, that person, that the younger person can actually work with on their own, that it's not overwhelming. So you need a down payment, so if mom and dad will help with that, and then that the young person can actually pay for their own mortgage. And remember, there's maintenance fees and taxes. That's awesome, and that will really help them. So that's what I've recommended to my own family members, and they took my advice, which is great. And there's lots of great neighborhoods that young people can go into that are really, really awesome. So that would be my advice there, is to get into the market in some way, get that deposit together, and for everybody who's ever gotten into real estate market, we all know that it's a sacrifice. So you're going to sacrifice something to get to your goal of owning real estate, and I think if parents can help their kids do that, I think that's really great. And as I said, we didn't really touch on the different market segments. But the condo market right now, in certain areas, it's trended down too, as the attached market, not as much. And the pre-sale market too. There's lots of incentives now. You'll find that when you go there, the sort of quote-unquote decorating allowances that us realtors that have been in the market, real estate business for a long time, used to use, they're there now. So, taking advantage of market right now, I think, is great. Interest rates haven't gone up this last time, and even with the stress test, which we didn't talk about at all, it looks like that there may be some easing off on that too, which will help some affordability for folks getting into the market. Did that answer your question? Great.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being very active and participatory audience here today, and thanks to Faith, Larry, and Kenny for providing all your expert advice on our panel discussion, and thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise, and I hope all of you enjoy the BC Home and Garden Show, and on behalf of RBC and myself, thank you for joining us here today. Good